Hello, in this video we're going to be building these flip cards right now, and we're going to be using HTML and CSS. Just take a look at the flip card so that you understand what you're about to build right now. Take a look at that. Alright, so we have three boxes in here with three cards inside of it, and then there is a text in front of all of them. So the first one right here says front of a car 1, and the second one says front of a car 2, and then the third one says front of a car 3. And the way that it works is that once you bring your mouse button close to this particular images or boxes that we have in here, it's going to show you the back of the car. Okay, so the pictures we have here are just front of the cars, but then when you bring your mouse cursor close to it, it shows you the back. So let's do that right now. You see how that flips? So this is now the back of the car 1, and then it shows you a link that we can actually click to order if you want to buy this particular car. Okay, which we didn't actually do anything about the ordering of the car, but this is what it is. If I take that away, it goes back to the front of the car. So, and this is really very good for people who want to display the front of a product and then the back of that particular product. An example could be this card that I used in here. It could be something like phones and laptops. If you want to display sides of the phone, maybe the front of the front view of a phone and then the back view of a phone, you can do that. So I believe that you guys kind of capture what this is, guys. So this is the back. If I take this away, by default it shows the front of the car. When I bring it in, it shows the back of the car with an order now button. So the same thing applies to the second one. If I bring it close, it shows the back of the car, and then an order now button. If I take it away, it takes it back to the back of the car. So the same thing applies to this. So this is the back of this car, and you can order for it. If you take it away, it shows you the front of the car. Okay, so that just, I believe that you guys kind of capture the image, because I kind of struggled with finding the back of all the cars that we have in here. But I think this is the white car, and then I was able to like flip the images and show them the back of the cars. Okay, so you can, if you are selling cars or you're selling maybe laptops, and you want to show people the back and then the front of the laptop or whatever device you're selling, you can actually snap the front view and then the back view and then display it in this manner that I just displayed it right now. So this is really cool, and then we're going to make this really possible with only CSS and then that of the HTML. And you're going to see that you can even use it maybe to show people the front face of a human being, and then show them the back of that particular human being. So you can actually, the goal of this is for you to just capture the idea behind how I'm going to build this and then replicate it in your own project. Okay, it could even be something like a pricing card where maybe you mention a particular service you're rendering, and then once people bring their cursor to it, it displays like the features of that particular service or product. And then you can have another now button that there. Okay, so the first one that I actually built was actually based on a pricing table, so where I was able to display my service, and then once you bring your cursor close to it, it shows you the details of that particular service, and then another now even the price. Okay, so that is just that. So without wasting more time, let's get into our development environment, and then we want to build this particular thing together, guys. So beautiful. So what we want to do right now is, let's go to our folder, where we want to go to this particular folder right now where we are building our HTML projects into, and I want to go to CSS project, and the one we're having here right now is the first one. So I want to create a new folder for what we want to build right now, and let's call that I'm going to just call that image flips. Okay, image flips, and I open that up. What I want to do with that is to go ahead and then open that up with my Visual Studio Code. Show more options, and then go to open with Visual Studio Code. And that's actually going to open up with Visual Studio Code right here. So let me maximize that. All right, so once we have this opened right now, the first thing I want to do is to go ahead and create our index page. So I'm going to do that right now. So this is going to be index.html, and we'll open that up, and I want to go ahead and then generate our HTML boilerplate right here. And I want to change the title from here, what it is, and we're going to just call this flipping cards with, let's say, images. Let's just make sure that is images, and that is just that, guys. So the next thing I want to do is to just, let me immediately link to my CSS. So we haven't actually created the CSS folder and files yet, but let's just say that we're going to have a file that we're going to just basically call something like style. And first of all, let's link by saying link well, and we want to set that to be equal to let's call this style sheet. This is going to be called the style sheet, and then we want to designate the position with href, and we want to send that to a folder that we haven't created. We're going to call that CSS and then a file that we haven't created, which we're going to call style.css, just like that. And let's go ahead and then create this particular folder right now. To do that is very, very simple. We can go back to our images folder in here, which is we call the image flips. So I want to create two folders in here. We could actually, however, create it within the what is it called, the VS Code, but I think it's also good that we create that in here. So this is the CSS, and then I want to create another file, a folder, which we're going to basically call images. So this is going to be called the images. All right, so if you go back to your environment right here, you see that that's a kind of a shows up immediately. So to create this particular file, which is actually called the style.css, you want to go ahead and click on your style, your CSS folder right here, and then click on this, and then you can go ahead and paste that right there. Okay, so with that, we have our CSS created, and within our index page right here, this is now when we can start. So we want to start writing all of the markup within our body tag right here, and I'm going to just start off with creating a div, which I'm going to give a class, and the class name is actually going to be card container. Let's call that card dash container, and you can go ahead and then close the div right here. So this is going to be div like that, and within this particular div id, I want to create something like a card. Okay, so to do that, I'm still going to put that in the class, in a div, and then give it a class of a card. So this is going to be called a card, and you can go ahead and then terminate. I'll close this div down here, and then within this particular div right now, I want to create the front face of the card. Okay, and that is, if you go back to this right here, we want to be able to create this front page and also be able to create the back. So to first of all get the div for that of the front, what we need to do right now is to, within this particular playlist right now, I want to go ahead and then create another div, which I'm going to just we're going to just basically call that front or card face. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to just add an additional div in here. So this is going to be div, and let's give that a class, and let's basically give this something like card dash face, which means the front, and we can go ahead and then give it maybe something like an additional class, which we're going to use to do some styling later. Okay, so that's just an additional class called the front. So we have two classes here. One is card face and the other one is just front. Okay, and we're going to see when we're going to use that as we move along. All right, so let's also close the div right here, just like that. And now it's now the right time to create this text that we have in here. So if you check in here, you see that we have a text that says something like a front of car 1 or front of car 2 or front of a car 3. So I'm going to create that in form of something like, it's going to be in form of a text overlay. And I want to do that by putting that in a div. So let's put that in the div. So this is going to be div, and we're going to give that a class. And let's basically the class is actually going to, let's call that text overlay. And then we'll have that as text overlay right there. And then the next thing we want to do right now is to go ahead and let's close that right here. And I'm going to just kind of close the div in here. And if I have that closed, we can go ahead and then put the text that I want people to basically see right here. Okay, so let's do that right now by just saying something like front of car 1, just like that. Okay, we can just put it right there. All right, and then just immediately underneath that particular div, this particular div that we have in here, we can go ahead and then bring in our image. So I just want to, let me tab this a little bit over so that to be a little bit easier for you guys to actually read. Okay, so I'm going to just do this way. And then down here, what I want to do in here right now is to just bring in the image. So to do that, I'm going to just do img src. And for those of you who are just following my HTML and CSS tutorial, I know that this is a kind of advanced for you guys, but I just want to do this video so that it will kind of encourage you, because when you are actually doing the basics of HTML and CSS, people tend to get tired too soon, and then they begin to feel like it's not actually worth learning. Okay, so I want to take this project so that it will kind of spark up the spirit in you to be more serious and then begin to see what you are capable of achieving in the future. Okay, so but for some of you who are already advanced designers, so should be something like a very simple thing for you guys to actually accomplish. Okay, however, if you already know how to do this, or you can even do it better than me, it's not something actually very bad. You just use this video as a refresher to just refresh your memory. Okay, so that's just what that is. So I'm going to just go ahead to bring in an image. Of course, the image is going to be outputted right here, and it's going to be in a place that is actually called the images, which is the folder we created. But then the image itself, we do not have that right now, but I'm going to just copy and bring that at a later time. So I'm going to just say front 1, and it's going to be something like a JPG image. Okay, and I'm going to try to provide these images for you guys so that you can actually download that from maybe GitHub or something of that nature. Okay, so but that's just what that is, and then we can actually give this a class. I want to just give this particular image a class, and let's call that card image. And after that, we can give this something like an alt text. So let's set the alt text to something like a front of car, and this actually ought to be something like quotation, not just that sign that we have in there. All right, so let's go ahead and then close that line, and that is it for bringing in an image. We have actually done this in our HTML and CSS project that we've been doing on Facebook, and I'm going to start uploading those things to YouTube at a later time. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you don't even understand how to write HTML and CSS, don't just worry. I'm going to start uploading series on that also, because I have the videos actually recorded. All right, so this is basically how we can bring the front of the card. Now, the next thing I want to do is to bring in the back of the card. And to do that is really going to be very simple. So we need to do that down here. And to do it, I'm going to create a new div here, which we are basically going to also give that almost the same class, but we're going to differentiate that with something else. All right, so we're going to just basically, at first, we're going to just call this card dash face, which is the same name that we gave to this particular one that is up here. But then we want to give it an additional class of back. Okay, so that is just that. And then we can go ahead and then close that down here. And let's try to close this particular div down here. So this is going to be div, right, like that. And then within this particular div, we want to like bring in the details for that of the back of the card, okay, which we can basically actually copy this particular thing that we have in here and then go ahead and then modify. So let me just go ahead and then copy this from here to this particular place right now. Not really from there, I just want to copy this overlay and that of the image. I think that's just what I need. So I'm going to copy this right now, and then we can go ahead and then paste that right here. Okay, and if I paste that right here, we just need to modify the content right here, which all we need to just basically do first of all is to change the text overlay. So instead of calling this front of car 1, we just want to call this back of car 2. Okay, so let's just change this to back of car 1, like that. And then the image, we're going to just basically change the image from front to something like back. Okay, and let's just use this opportunity to also bring in the images to this particular folder, so that all this naming that we're actually doing here will not just be naming them just out of our head just like that. Okay, so we just want to be sure that we are really giving that the real name, so that we don't have to always repeat that. So if we go back to the former one that we had, and I want to go to that particular stuff right there, open this up, and I want to copy all of the images that we have in here. And then if we go back to the one we're working on right now, which is flip images, and I open this up, I want to go ahead and paste all of those images into this particular place. All right, so that is just that. And if we go back to our development environment right now, and then you see that we have the front and then the back of the first card on our page right here. So all right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to just go ahead and enter something like that particular link. I want to enter that down here. So to do that, I'm going to just put that in something like a P tag to do that. So this is going to be P, and you can just enter our link, which is, I'm going to just say href right here. And that is just basically how to create something like a link, guys. So I'm just going to make this a dummy link. I don't want it to actually go to anywhere. So let's go ahead and then close this right here. And then the text that we want people to already actually see is actually going to be called an order now. Add exclamation sign there. And you can go ahead and then close the A tag and also close the P tag right there. All right, so that is just that, guys. So if we I know what I'm going to do. I need to add an additional div right here, which I'm going to let's just call this div, and I'm going to just give this a class of something like inner card, just to wrap around all of this. So let's call that inner, or card inner. Let's just call that card dash inner, and you can close out that right here. I want to just make sure that I wrap that around everything that we have here. So this is going to be down here. I want to just say div like that. So that is just that. So with this, I'm going to just save the changes, and then if we take a look at that on our browser, let's just go to the card, the one we're working on right now, which is image flips. I want to open up this in our browser. Okay, so that's actually opening with our, I don't like this particular browser right now, so I'm going to copy that URL and then go back to the former one. And I want to open this in a new tab and then open that up. So this is basically what I have right now. So I have basically have the first card brought in, or the first card within that particular place. So what I want to do right now is that I just basically want to copy this particular card beginning from here. Okay, so I want to copy this card beginning from here to this particular place, and then go ahead and then duplicate that maybe 2 more times, and then I can modify it for other things that I basically actually need. So what we need to do right now is just go ahead and copy. All right, so let me just go ahead and copy that, and then down here, let me just create a space, paste that, and then we can go ahead and modify the things that are actually here. So I want to change it from front of car 1 to front of car 2, and I want to change the image to front 2 right there, and then the class can actually stay, but let's change this particular hotkey right there to 2. And after that, this is, let's make sure we'll type this correctly. This is going to be back of car 2, because this first one is actually back of car 2 right there. I mean the front of car 2, and this second one is going to be back of car 2. And we can go ahead and then change the image also, change that to 2, and then go ahead and then also change this text that we're having here to 2, like that. And we should have also make sure that we type this to be capital letter B right there. All right, so we have that. Sorry about this. Let me just minimize that again, and then we need to go ahead and then paste that again down here. So I'm going to just paste that card again, and then we can go ahead and then still modify this. So this one is actually going to be for that of the car 3. So let's change this to car 3, and we can change the image from here to 3, and then also change this from what it is right now. So we're going to go ahead and change that to 3, and we should also do the same thing for what we have down here. So this is going to be 3, and we change this, the image also here to 3, and also change this particular one to 3, like that. So, and I feel like that should be just that. So if we save the changes, we should be able to see the 3 cards in our page right now. Okay, so if you scroll down, you notice that we have some like up to 3 different cards right there. Okay, so what I want to do right now, of course, it's going to look all this ugly at the initial stage, but it's our CSS that we're actually going to use to do justice to that. So for that reason, let's go to our CSS folder and then begin to do some things to that. And the first thing I want to do right now is just work on the card container right here. So that's actually the first class that we created in here, this particular thing. I want to copy this right now, then go to our CSS, and I want to reference to that particular class. And what I want to do to this class is really very simple. First of all, I want to set the width of that particular container to something like 100%. That way it's going to take the full width of the screen. Okay, so after that, I want to display the content of that particular card, a container. I want to display it to flex so that everything will actually appear side by side. And after that, let's just use something like our CSS justify content to that. We're going to just set that to something like space between. So let's just say space between. So let's select space between right here. And if I save this right now, these few lines of code that we have just written, let's just see how that is affecting our page so far. And something is actually happening, but you may not like see everything in here for now because we have not actually assigned the sizes to the card itself. So the next thing we want to do on the CSS right now is let's work on the card class right there, and want to like attack each individual card right here. This particular card in here, want to like do something on this right now. So what we want to do, the first thing I want to do is to just set its width. I'm going to just say width, and I just want it to be something like 100. I mean a 30%. Okay, so this is going to be 30%. All right, so you see with this line of 30% width that we have just added is going to help in displaying the content that we have the card right here. You know that we're basically setting the content of this particular container to flex, but we're finding it so difficult in doing that because the size of the cards are actually very big. They are using their default. For instance, let me just, if I cut this off right now and just do something like border, let me just do border right there and just say, let's say something like 2 pixels solid. I'm going to set that to something like red. Okay, if we save this right now and then we'll go to our browser and then we'll refresh, you see how the cards are actually going. Okay, so they're going horizontally all the way to maybe the beginning of the front card to the next one. Okay, but what we basically want to do is to make sure that we are able to like divide this thing in slices. Okay, and that's just what we have made a provision for right here. So we want to have things in columns. Okay, so to do that, we want to help that with the width that we have just removed just now. Okay, so I just want to those red lines that we have in this particular page to just only maintain, let's say, 30% of the available space. and that is actually going to help to push other contents on the same line with them. So if we save the changes, I don't know if I saved the changes right here. Okay, I saved that, and then we'll refresh this page. We're going to see what is going to happen right now. You see that it tries to like bring those cards to in a horizontal manner to each other. Okay, however, it still does not actually look great as we want it to look, but it does shows a sign that something is actually coming together. Okay, so the next thing we want to do right now, let me add some more things to this particular line that we're having here. And the first thing I want to add is just the height, because the heights right now are in default. And if you take a look at that, it's not actually good. So they don't actually have the same height. So we want to assign our own height. And let's just say that this is going to be something like 300 pixels. And if you save that and then you check our web page, you're going to see that the height of those things are actually going to reduce. Okay, so this is 300 pixels for each of the cards that we have in here. All right, so let's go back to our development environment. And the next thing we basically want to add right now is going to be the position. So I'm going to position this to relative. Set that to position, and I'm going to just say relative. I'm going to basically add one more line to this at a later time, and that's going to basically help with something else. But what I want to do right now is that we have, there is another card that I just entered, another class called the card inner, that I just added at that time. So let's add some styling to this card inner. And I want to do that down here. And to do that, I'm going to have a space in here that I'm going to use for that thing later. So let me just down here, I want to just do dots and then paste the card inner right here. And let's throw in some styling for the card inner right here. And what I want to do is, first of all, I want to set the width of that card inner to 100%. Okay, so this is going to be 100%. And after that, we want to go ahead and set its height to, this is still going to be 100%. And then after that, we want to set the position again to absolute. So the position of the card that is inside of that place is actually going to be set to absolute. All right, so with this, and if you save the changes right now, and then you go back to your browser, you refresh, you're going to notice that we still have just right about the same thing that we had earlier before now. And then you notice that we have both the front of the car displayed and then the back of the car also displayed right there, which is not something that we really want to do. One in such a way that we should be able to only display the front of the cars like this, and then on the hover we can actually bring in the back of the cars. Okay, so all of this back side of the cars right here that are displayed right here by default, we need to find a way to hide them. So to do that, let's go back to our development environment, and that's basically going to make us go to first of all, I want to work on the card face. Okay, so to work on the card face, what I'm going to do is just say dot card. This is going to be card dash face right there. And what I want to do with that right now is, let me just set a couple of properties for it right now. Let's just basically set that width to 100%. And let's also set the height to the same percentage. So this is still going to be 100%. And after that, we want to go ahead and then set the position. So this is going to be position, and we want to go ahead and set that to absolute. And what this is actually going to do for us is to help a kind of stack some of those images on top of each other. Okay, basically what we want to do is to just hide it, but we can just stack them on top of each other first of all with this. And after that, we can, let's just use something like back face visibility, and we can just basically set that to hidden. So if you set this to hidden, basically it's going to hide the back of the cards. Okay, so that's just what this is actually going to do for us. So let's save this and then take a look at that in our browser. So if we save this and then refresh, and you see that it's a kind of a hide the back of the cards anyway. Okay, I think we'll set the this to absolute. If I take this away right now and refresh, okay, all right, so let's just bring back that absolute. First of all, I think we can actually work on the front card. Okay, there are some classes we gave that time that we call the front, like this one where we have something like front and we also have back right here. So let's make use of those to be able to hide those cards properly. So the first one I want to work on right now is going to be that of the front. So let's just say front right here, and the things we want to add to the front. First of all, let me just give you the background. So this is going to be background. I want to set it to the following hexadecimal numbers. So this is going to be F0 right there, F0, 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 and that's just basically the background that I want to set for that right now. After that, we can just say display, and we can set that to flex like that, and we can just do justify content. We'll send it to the center of the web web page, and after that we can go ahead and then align items. So let's just do align, and we can go ahead and then align that to the center of the web page. So this is going to be center, and then for the font size we have a text in there, so we can go ahead and then set that to, let's say this is going to be 24 pixels for the text. All right, so if we save the changes right now, and then let's take a look at that in our browser. If I refresh, and that's just still looking like the way. So all right, so let's work on the back one. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it on the next line, and then change this to back. And what I want to basically do initially right now, let me try to hide. Let me just try. I want to just change this to something like 20 pixels, and the item being set to center, and that of the justify content is okay, and then the flex is actually okay. But I want to change the color right here. So this is just basically going to be FF, and I'm going to just do CCCC right there. That particular background. That will be what I want to use on the back card. Okay, but then for me to like really hide, let me just save this and take a look at that again on the browser first of all. And you see that the card kind of showed up, but then we need to like hide all of this, the back side of the card now. So to do that is really very simple. We're going to just do something like transform, and what we're going to do right now is to just transform that by 180 pixels, I mean 180 degrees by y-axis. Okay, so to do that we're going to just say rotate. This is going to be rotate y-axis, and then we can go ahead and then do that by 180 degrees. So this is going to be DEG like that, to rotate that by 180. And if we save this, I don't know, did we already type this right? This is going to be transform. This is how it should be. So we have that right now. So if we now refresh, we should be able to hide that, those cards, the back of those cards right now. Okay, so with that particular transform, we are able to hide those cards. Okay, so that's just how that is right now. All right, so without wasting more time, let's just take a look at these images that we have in here. Just want to work on the images, and then we'll have a class that we call a card image. So I'm going to copy this, and I just want to include just a few styles to that of the card images. So I'm going to just do dots and then paste that. And what I want to do is really very simple. I just want to set the width of the images. Let's go ahead and set that to 100%. We're using percentage a lot of time today, so we're going to just say height, and you can also set it to the same 100%. Okay, and the next thing we want to do right now is we want to set the object fit, because the way that it is right now, it's not going to properly fit into the boxes for us. Okay, if we refresh this, you see that they kind of get into the boxes, but they did not actually fit very well. So if you want it to like fit into the boxes, you can use something like object fit. So let's do object fit, and you can go ahead and then set that to cover. So let's just say cover, and these things are actually basically coming from the CSS3, guys, so which we are basically also going to do that at a later time. So if you take a look at that, it's a kind of a fit a lot more right now. So we're going to also work on this, the text right here that we are seeing here. I think that's actually what is blocking quite a few of the things that we have in here. Okay, all right, so the next thing I want to do right now, the next thing I basically want to do right now is you know that we've actually hidden the back of these things that we have in here. I want to like attempt to bring them back before we can do the rest of the styling right here. By when I bring my mouse button close to them, I want something to actually take place, and to do that we're going to do that based on hover effect. All right, so you know that we have actually hidden those cards already, right? So we have those cards hidden, that of the back of the card. So what we want to do next is one in such a way that when somebody brings the mouse button close to these things that we have in here, it should make an attempt to bring in the back of the card. So before we do any other styling to maybe the front, the text that are here, and then adjustments of all these images, let's just try to see if we can actually bring back those back cards. Okay, so to do that right here, if you take a look at it here, we're going to notice that there is a card element that we have in here, and it's a kind of a covers from this particular place down to this place. Okay, I mean this place. Okay, it covers all of this. So one in such a way that once somebody brings his or her mouse button close to the card element right here, this particular div, what we want to do is that we want to go ahead and then a kind of a grab onto the inner cards. Okay, so once we bring our mouse button close to this card element, we want to grab onto this card inner, okay, to effect some changes to it. And to do that, we're going to just do that within our CSS. So I'm going to just do that right here. So I'm going to just say dot card. So if we say dot card, I want to go ahead and then let's make sure we type card correctly. We're going to use hover effect, and once we use hover effect on that, the element or the div, we want to make sure that that's a kind of effect is going to be the card inner. So I'm going to just do space and then do dot card dash inner like that. Okay. And within this particular place, we want to, like, you know that we've already hidden this. We used this transformation to be able to kind of hide that particular card just now. So I'm going to just copy this, and that's the same thing that we're going to use to just bring that back. Okay, so for that reason, if I copy that right here, I want to go ahead and paste that at this particular place. And once they bring, what this means is that once you bring your mouse button close to that particular div called card, we want to go ahead and then effect the changes on this particular card inner. Okay, so I want to save this right now, and then if we go to our browser, save the changes and then refresh, if you bring your mouse button, it attempts to change. Something is actually happening, but it's not actually bringing in the what we're actually looking for, that which is the back of the cars. And to correct this is really very simple. It's actually transforming that by 180 degrees, but we want to add something else to maybe this card inner element right here that we have within this particular place. And to do that is really very simple. So let's just say card inner. Within this place where we have card inner, we want to like transform the style to something like a 3D effect. So to do that, this is going to be, we're going to just use this particular property in CSS3 called the transform style, and to grab onto that, we're going to just say preserve 3D, and I'm going to just save that. And if we go back to our browser and then refresh, you see that once we now hover on it, you see that it brings the back of the car. Okay, so if we bring this to this, is also bring the back of this particular one, and then for the white one, it also brings the back. See how that is actually working, guys? However, the way that is actually changing is not smooth enough. So if you want it to be a little bit smooth, you can actually do that down here by using something like a transition. So let's use transition in CSS3 right here, and you can just set that to maybe, let's say 0. Something like 5 seconds. And if we save the changes, and then we'll check our browser, let's refresh, and you see that the changing is a kind of a lot smoother than it used to be, guys. You see how that is actually working. However, I feel like this is still too fast, so let's do something like 1.5 seconds right there. So if we go back and we refresh this page, you see that it's a lot more smooth right now than before. You see how that is actually working. All right, so we're getting to the final destination. Okay, all right, so the next thing, if you take a look at this, the behavior of this right here, you see that the way that it is actually changing, there is nothing like 3D effects to this, guys, to be sincere with you. You see the way that it is actually changing, just collapsing and then expanding. So let's add something like a 3D effect to that. And if you want to do that, that has to be done within the card div right here. Okay, so let's just do something like to bring in a 3D effect, we can just do something like perspective, and you can set that to, let's say this is going to be 1000 pixels, and you can experiment with other values, guys, to see how that is actually going to work. So I'm going to save the changes, and then if I refresh this page, and then you see the way that is actually working right now, pure 3D effect. Okay, so that's going to help us do a pure 3D effect, and that's just looking just pure, guys. All right, so if we go back to our development environment, let's now try to kind of work on this, the look of all these things, all these, like for instance this particular back card and all of these things, we need to like work on them, which they actually overlay. Okay, I think that they are overlays within the text overlay. I just want to add the overlay down here. Let me just add that as the at the bottom of this particular place. So there is a class that we call the text overlay, which we can actually get from this place. I want to just copy this, and then if we go to our CSS, I want to paste that right there, and we can go ahead and then begin to spill out the styles that we want that for that. Okay, of course we have to add dots because we're referencing to something, a class right there. So I want to position the, what is it called, the that of the text overlay. I want to position that absolute. So this is going to be absolute like that, so that it can stay on top of those things that we have in here. Okay, so if you save that right now, and then let's kind of check that. you see that we now have those text in front, I mean added on top of those images that we have on this place. Okay, so if you take a look at that, you see that we'll have those text on top of those. That's what absolute position actually does for us. Okay, so those are the text in there. I don't know if you guys are seeing that very well, but we do have some text in there right now. So they are now positioned absolute to the text that we have on that particular place. Alright, so the other styles that we want to do right now is that we want to push that by something like 50% down. So I'm going to just do tab and I'm going to just do 50%, even though it seems like it's even well positioned already, but why don't we just make sure that we put this in place. And then the next thing we want to do is that of the left. I want to make sure that push it like 50% away from the left. So this is still going to be 50%. And what all these things are actually going to do is to make sure that it stays at the center of that particular spaces around it. Okay, so we can just use transformation right here. So this is going to be transform, and I want to go ahead and then I'm going to just say translate. And I'm going to just try to translate that by minus 50%. So this is going to be minus 50%, comma, and on the negative, that's just basically on the negative axis. And I'm also going to do that for the other part, which is also going to be 50%. Okay, so that's just what I'm going to do on that line. And then on the next thing, just want to change the background of the text. So I'm going to just do background, and I basically want to change that to black. So let's just call that black, and you can use whatever color you want to use, guys. So, and after the changing of the background, I want to change the color, and let's just change that to something like white. So this is going to produce white for us, guys. And after that, we want to make sure that we put the text using text align at the center of the web page. So this is going to be text align. Let's make sure we type center correctly. And then after that, we want to change the font size. So this is going to be font size. And let's go ahead and then do something like 24 pixels. So this is going to be 24 pixels. And finally, we're going to just set the font weight. Let's set that to something like bold. So this is going to be bold, or bold, or whatever you use. And if you want to add shadows to it, you can do that. You can just say something like text dash shadow. So this is going to be shadow. And the way that is actually done, I'm going to just do 2 pixels by 2 pixels, 0, comma. And then the final one is the opacity. Okay, so that's just the opacity right there. So I want to save the changes right here. And if you take a look at our stuff in the page, you see that you now have a background text right there with some sort of a shadow. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is the link that is actually at the back of that images of the content we have in there. So to style the links, we can just do A, and we can just, I'm going to just change the color to something like red. And we also are going to do something with that of the margin button. Actually, we don't even need to set a margin button for this. I think it looks okay on the bottom. And the next thing we want to do is to just set the padding. Okay, so if we set the padding, we can go ahead and then say that is actually going to be something like 12 pixels or less. You can do something like 10 pixels. And finally, we're going to just do font size. And let's say that the font size is going to be actually 1.5 em, like that. And then we'll save that. Then if we go back, refresh, and once we hover on it, you see how that is actually looking, just like the original that we presented. Okay, so that is just how that is, guys, and I hope that you guys kind of understand what I did in this video. And if you like it, just give the video a like. And if you are not following us yet or subscribe to our channel, you have to do that right now. And if you have any questions, you can throw that on the comment section, and I'll be there to answer your questions, guys. So thanks for watching, and then I will see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.